It's not uncommon for babies to be born with little birthmarks. Animals, much like humans, can also be born with all kinds of different colored and shaped birthmarks. But every now and then, a baby animal is born with very distinctive markings which simply have to be seen to be believed, such as one foal's markings who was born earlier this year. Want to find out more? Keep on watching. Owners surprised at how new foal looks. Baby animals are adorable, there's no getting around that. So it's no surprise that lots of people love looking and playing with them when they can. But one foal has gained a lot of attention because of the amazing marking that he was born with. At the start of May 2021, a young colt was born at the Flying Hall Riding School in North Yorkshire in the UK. Wendy Bulmer is the woman who runs the riding school. She said that she bought his mother at a sale and didn't know she was in foal, meaning pregnant. So that was a bit of a surprise. Because the mare was pregnant, she had to be rested, meaning that she couldn't be ridden by customers. This, of course, left Wendy a bit annoyed. But it was soon enough forgotten when she saw just what the mare gave birth to. The mare herself was chestnut-colored with a white diamond on her forehead. But her baby was a bit more unique-looking. Along with a white diamond on his forehead, the foal had an incredible white marking running along his mane all the way down to the side of his leg. The amazing thing about it was that it looked exactly like the silhouette of a horse. Not only this, he also had a small heart-like marking on his bottom. The chestnut horses have irregular patches, but they don't normally make something as recognizable, Wendy said. The pattern is such a work of art that Wendy named the foal Da Vinci, Vinny for short, after the famous artist. He currently lives at the riding school where children can interact with him to learn more about horses and what it means to take care of them. And although she might not have wanted him to begin with, Wendy sure is glad now that he is here. But Vinny isn't the only one to be born slightly unusual. New coloring in Icelandic horse coats. In Iceland, horses have been around since the time of the Vikings. And thanks to an ancient law that prohibits these animals from other countries from entering Iceland, the horses have remained purebred for over 1,000 years. The four primary colors of their coats are white, brown, chestnut, and black, and they can have different colored markings as well. But one foal took it a step further by being born with a brand new coat pattern never seen before. Back in 2013, a bay dun mare gave birth to a male foal. But it was the foal's unusual coat which really shocked owner Baldur. The colt, who Baldur called Ellert, was born with a white spattering on his body. Now, you might not think that is that odd, but both the foal's mother and father were solid-colored horses, Baldur says. It's not possible to get pinto colors from two one-colored parents. Although the stallion takes after his mother's color, a bay dun, he does not have the typical characteristics of a bay dun Icelandic horse. Instead, he is speckled white, has a bald white face and partial icy blue eyes, a far cry from the bay dun or blue dun colorings of his parents. Freya Imsland, a genetic expert in Iceland who worked closely with Baldur, explained how Ellert's variant is one of a kind. What makes Ellert unique is that he has a variant that is only present in him and his offspring. This particular change doesn't exist in any other horse in the world, she said. When Baldur first saw the colt's coat, he thought that there had been a mistake during the breeding process. However, a DNA test proved that everything was as it should be. A further look into the foal's DNA showed that a gene mutation had occurred which created the pattern across his body. In 2015, after sending Ellert's DNA to Tosso Lieb, a professor and director of the Institute of Genetics at the University of Bern, the Icelandic horse was categorized as the first of its kind with that coat color. The coat was given its own name, which is very difficult to pronounce in Icelandic. However, it translates to mean speckle. Since then, the stallion has fathered multiple foals, passing down his unique coat gene and ensuring a new generation of speckled Icelandic horses. It's always cool when something new and unique pops up, which is why when this next beauty appeared on the racetrack, people simply couldn't stop staring. Southern Phantom, the unusually marked racehorse. In 2018, a 2-year-old horse called Southern Phantom was just making his debut as a new racehorse, and yet people were already lining up for a chance to use the novice racer as a stud. But why were people so interested in this animal that hadn't even won a race yet? It was all because of his unique look. The stallion, who became a viral sensation, boasted a rare coat. His body was a common bay color, but his face looked as if it had been dipped in a bucket of white paint. He also had mismatched blue and brown eyes, a balayage tail that feathered out into blonde, and 4 white knee-high socks. Most beautiful and unusual horse I have ever seen, fans wrote on the colt Facebook page. The young racer's popularity wasn't anything new though, as the interesting-looking animal had been catching people's attention from the day that he was born. Shocked at the colt's unusual coat, its trainer, Eric Gallo, got in touch with his friend at Blood Horse magazine, who came up with the idea of holding a naming contest for the newborn foal. The idea was to let the competition run for a couple of weeks. However, because the foal was so popular, it had to be cut short. We had 2,800 entries in 4 days, so I said, hey, put a halt to this thing so I can pick a name. I didn't want to look through 10,000 names, said Eric. In the end, the eccentric trainer decided on the name Southern Phantom, as it was a mashup of the stable where the stallion was born, Southern Equine Stables, and the white masked phantom from the musical Phantom of the Opera. Although Southern Phantom's pure white markings were beautiful, they also came with a few problems. His skin was very sensitive, meaning that he had to wear sunscreen to avoid being burned, and his nose had to be washed to stop his grain mix from irritating it. In 2020, Southern Phantom retired from racing, having not placed first in any of his races. Despite this, there were still plenty of people who want to use him as a stud, hoping that they'll be able to recreate his rare and fascinating markings. So keep an eye out, there might be a few more unique-looking horses turning up at the racetrack sometime soon. Isn't that an awesome look? I mean, it definitely attracts attention, and although this next colt isn't quite as unique-looking, it is still beautiful. Rare white thoroughbred colt born. When it comes to an animal's coloring, lots of people have their own personal preferences, but it's pretty safe to say that a lot of people believe pure white to be one of the prettiest colors of all. That's why when a mare called Principa Seattle gave birth to a pure white colt back in 2016, her owners were shocked and delighted. The colt, who was born at Rock Ridge Stud Thoroughbred Farm, definitely took after his father, 3-time race winner Honorable Dylan, when it came to his coat. The foal's snow-white coloring was almost an exact replica of the popular racehorses, although the young colt did have a tuft of brown in his mane, along with a brown spot on his bottom. Whilst you might think that white thoroughbreds are quite common, they're actually only a 0.0095% chance that one will be born. Rick Bailey, a member of the Jockey Club registry, explains that in history, only 170 American thoroughbreds have been registered with the Jockey Club, which was created in 1750. In fact, they are so rare that there have only been 3 other white thoroughbred horses to have come from New York: Arctic Stormcat, Clarence Stewart, and White Flight. Since then, the white thoroughbred has retired from racing and has gone on to sire his own foals. Personally, I think a perfect name for any white horse would have to be Shadowfax. Back to horses born with unique patterns now though, and this next one will melt your heart. Foal born with heart marking. A foal who was named Swagger in the Sky, but called Sky for short, was born earlier this year in 2021 at Believe Performance Horses in Canada. He was born with a unique white pattern on his forehead, which created the shape of a heart in the middle of it. But it's the story behind the heart that is truly special. The foal came at a time when the owner of the center, Sandy Corveau, needed him most, as she had recently lost her son. Her son, Kyler, had often used the heart shape in everyday minor tasks that he did. He would cook his mother eggs in the shape of hearts and unload square bales into the shape of a heart as well. One of the most coincidental things is that he would often kiss the mare who gave birth to Sky on the forehead, right where the heart shape appeared on the new foal. The horse was also born on the evening of the 23rd of June, only hours before Kyler's birthday on the 24th of June. Whilst all of this might have been a coincidence, Miss Corveau likes to believe that the marking on Skye is a message of love from her son. It shows that he can always be with her and tell her how much he cares. What a beautiful sentiment. And even if you don't believe in things like that, the unique marking on the foal is still a charming feature that you simply can't help falling in love with. What unique and stunning horses! I can't wait to see what kind of color or pattern might appear next. Let us know what your favorite markings on a horse are in the comments below. See you next time for more inspiring stories.